Hello everyone, welcome to the Witcher 3 story suggestions video. My name is Gabriel, and since my Dragon Age 3 story suggestions was quite a successful video, but still quite long, I decided that creating this one for one of my favorite games might also be a good idea. There will probably be no gameplay mechanics video about The Witcher, because I don't think that it is actually necessary. The Witcher games are tough and they require a lot of precision in fighting, so plus mechanics that are added in it, in my opinion, serve very well. One more important thing about this video is that unlike Dragon Age, we know much less about the possible Witcher 3. With Dragon Age it is quite obvious that we will probably in the third game fight to establish order in the world in Thedas. Witcher has much more personal touch into it. My upcoming suggestions are also centered around two things actually: politics and Geralt's personal story. Be warned, as always, since this video contains a lot of information that requires the viewer to know about the Witcher conclusions of the second game, there is a big spoiler warning here. As well, you also have here the table of content. Not that many, since there is, as I said, we know less about The Witcher, but feel free to also click if any particular topic interests you. So, let's start this. Nilfgaard. The antagonizing force in the world is clearly the powerful and conquest-hungry Nilfgaardian Empire. The Black Sun. The herald of the Empire is the sun on a black background. As you can also see clearly, the forces of the Empire also dress mainly in black. The Empire was a small city-state when Geralt was a child in Kaer Morhen, but during decades and after the shift to more military-oriented doctrine, conquest of neighboring states started and ended in forming one of the largest political forces in the world. Later, from year to year, the Empire became also the biggest military and economical force, able to influence regions, not just other countries. Nilfgaard is ruled by its absolute domination of Emperor and his strong army, as well as an autocratic state. We witnessed the ideology of it in The Witcher 2. Since a prime political conflict is set at the end of The Witcher 2, it will be logical that Nilfgaard will have a big role in the story of The Witcher 3. I also suggest not to underestimate the Black Sun as some did in The Witcher 2. Cintra. One of the very important dialogues in the ending of The Witcher 2 indicates that after 5 years Nilfgaard forces moved to northern kingdoms. Schiller mentioned that Lodge agents in Cintra, the most south of the three kingdoms in the north, reported Nilfgaardian forces crossing the Yaruga, a border river. So it is certain that the storyline will now feature a war with the Black Empire. I hope that one of the main story acts of The Witcher 3 will be set in Cintra. The source material portraits the kingdom very well, not to mention Ciri, the princess of Cintra. Ciri and Cintra. Ciri was Geralt's surprise child, but the factor that made the girl, later a woman, special is much more realistic. She was born by Pavetta, princess to Cintra's throne, and she is herself princess of the southern kingdom of Cintra. I don't know if she will make an appearance in the game, I doubt it even, but with Geralt's memory coming back, it might be nice to show his background from books in a flashback or in flashbacks as it was happening in The Witcher 2. She may be mentioned, since it is known it was Geralt who was looking for her, was searching to find her, and later was forced to part with her in the books. She may be a nice addition to the story. Plus, it's also worth mentioning that Cintra was literally devastated during the First War, so it's another nice addition to the possibilities for some story development in the third game. Enslaved Southern Kingdoms. If it was my decision, I'd set the first act of the third game in Cintra, so the player will still be close to his or hers known political and social background from the previous games. But since the kingdom is very close to the enemy, Nilfgaard, and the theater of an outbreaking war will be possibly somewhere around Cintra, the consequences of the player are still very visible from the previous games. And the setting is more or less known to us. Later, I think a natural order is to move the story from north into mainland of Nilfgaard itself. Yennefer in Nilfgaard. It is no surprise that the story will move to the Yennefer theme. That too pointed the direction, and with the recovery of the Witcher's memories, it is only natural that The Witcher 3 will address this part of the mystery. It's also interesting to what degree will we see Yennefer's memory loss. Will she remember Geralt? Will she remember the Wild Hunt? Was she also still pursued by the Elven Spectres, even if technically she was freed from this threat by Geralt's sacrifice? And a very interesting idea, will she and Triss fight for Geralt's attention as romance options? Witcher 2 left it quite visible where Geralt's love should be placed, but remember, not like in The Witcher first game, there was no counter-interest that forced the player to choose. Roach or Yorveth. Another very important matter that, in my opinion, created a new quality in RPGs in general was the choice between Elven Rebel and Blue Stripes Temerian Loyalist. Of course, Roach or Yorveth. I hope that at the beginning of Witcher 3 we will see more implications that follow the siding in Act 1 of The Witcher 2. Will Roach and Yorveth stay in the north? Will a lot change as subject to the import of the save file? What could be the best solution from my point of view is to start the game in two different ways, or even areas, depending on who the player supported in the Act 1 of The Witcher 2. Like if you choose Yorveth, you start with an Elven commando moving in a forest of Mahakam, for example, or if you choose Roach, you start with him, Geralt and Vess making their way into Nilfgaard as even spies undercover. Different quests at different beginnings. That would be something awesome to see. The Wild Hunt. Now, with the cliffhanger in The Witcher 2, what I think the story needs is a new main motive. Like the assassins in The Witcher 2 were the pushing force able to start the events of the game, Witcher 3 needs something like that, sort of a plot device. What I think is the perfect way to do this is to show the Wild Hunt as an element that pushes the story forward, and maybe even a new mechanic in the game. This is just a short possibility. Let's think. Let's say that since Geralt was hunted by the spectral riders, he has some sort of a connection with them that allows them to track him. If there is such a connection, it can be also used to track the other way around. Can we track it back to the leader of the hunt? Or can it allow Geralt to expand his arsenal as a fighter, because from what Cynthia said, it seems that Geralt was once a member of the hunt. So can this help in his arsenal as a fighter? I hope the game will feature the hunt as a main plot element of the story in The Witcher 3, because they are a mystery. They are a mystery that still requires some explanation. Emhyr von Emrys. One thing that an RPG needs, Dragon Age 2 proved that it is essential, is an antagonist. At the moment we don't see a real character that can fill this role. Leto can die, so he is a little, well, he was used. Sheila or Philippa as well are on the run or dead. Well, at least Sheila. I believe I see a good candidate, one that was mentioned in The Witcher 2 and is known as the Dancer of the Nilfgaardian Empire, no other than the Emperor himself. Emhyr von Emrys is the person that approved the plan for assassination of the Northern Kings. He was also the individual that convinced Leto to kill the monarchs, as well as promised him the rebirth of the School of the Viper. Cintra reveals that he is probably personally interested in Geralt as well. If there is a person in the Witcher world worthy of being the antagonist for Geralt, it is him. But actually, he's not alone. Vattir the Rideau. Vattir the Rideau, mentioned above, is the very person I believe responsible for the machinations and conspiracy that prepared the North for the Nilfgaardian invasion. Vattir was mentioned by Leto again, and is the very influential figure. He is Emhyr von Emrys' master spy, as well as a count. The problem is, we don't know a lot about these two. I don't recall in the books much involvement of these characters, so it is an ideal situation for CD Projekt Red team, because Vattir and Emhyr are a great possibility to design a very nice duo of enemies. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like the video or subscribe to the channel. My channel features mainly Let's Plays, but from time to time I also create videos that are much more centered around a specific topic. If any point given here bothers you, or if you have an opinion you want to share, feel free to comment or make a video response. If my predictions clarified anything for you, I'm happy. If not, I'm always open to argue, to speak, verify my statements, or even if I'm wrong, to review the above points. Thank you again, my name is Gabriel. Sharpen your swords, the steel ones and the silver ones. We will need them in The Witcher 3. See ya!